Hello everybody, welcome to OCHD and welcome to another Jumputi Heroes video. Today we are going to be discussing the roadmap in full detail, something I did say I would do a little while ago. It took me a little while to get around to it, but we're here. And there's been a few changes since this has actually been announced, so as we get to the points, you know, additional information or dates that have changed or whatever, I will make those amendments on the screen. You can see on the screen actually the infographic that has been provided by Ripperman from the Discord, so shout out to him. I just couldn't be bothered to make one this time, so I'm very grateful that he has made one. And it's all translated so you can see it, and we're going to do it month by month, so all the timestamps will be in the description for anybody that wants to skip any particular sections. And we'll take it one at a time. One at a time. So, April. Obviously, April's basically come to an end at this point, so all of this stuff has sort of been done, but there's a bit more to it than might meet the eye. So let's first of all review what we did get in April, what has come in April. We had the 4th anniversary, which I've got to say, and I've said it elsewhere, but it was my least favourite anniversary event that we have ever had. Introduced Roger, which was very cool. I was a bit less excited about Asta, but I could kind of understand it. And we also got Deku and All Might, which again, I could kind of understand it, but there wasn't much else to the event. It was very much lacking. It needed like a standard gacha, at least one, if not two. And it needed some more event units. It needed a lot of stuff. Like the second part of the event was just dead. Absolute mess of an event. And I think they did say pretty much straight up on the live stream, we didn't have time. They just didn't have time. You know, the transforming units took way longer than they thought they would, and it didn't come together, and so things were omitted. I personally have some issues with that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later, because I think there's some other things at play there. That was followed by the My Hero Academia event, which, all in all, I don't think it's a bad event. It's maybe missing like one more event unit or something. Could do with an aura costume for like the Deku stage or something. But all things considered, I don't think it's that bad an event. It's a little bit long, and like I said in the news video, I do have issues with it, but I'm not too bothered. I think, you know, overall, as far as My Hero Academia events go, we've had worse, I would say. I'm fine with it for the most part, but I think the thing that makes it feel worse is that it is coming after the part 2 of the anniversary, which was essentially just a My Hero Academia event anyway, even though it only added 2 new units. And that period felt so dead, but that also sort of feels like part of the My Hero Academia event, because it was also sort of a My Hero Academia event. So that was a bit of a mess from them. I gotta be honest, that was a bit of a mess. But moving out from there, we do have some additional stuff here. We have the campaigns, which at this point are basically over. I honestly absolutely despise the 4th anniversary campaigns. They did the triple campaign or whatever it was. We did get a lot of freebies and stuff, but I think the Twitter campaign was just AIDS. It was just AIDS. It was the worst. They were asking fans to just spam the shit out of the hashtag, and it's kind of like, you know, I remember a long time ago, I think it was Philip DeFranco, the YouTuber, talking about the Streamy Awards. They had this awards thing where basically the person that won the Streamies was the person that got their fans to spam the shit out of the votes and out on the website. And so that was deemed as, well, they must be the most popular because they had the most influence to be able to get their fans to spam it. But then there's loads of big creators who didn't want to do that, and so they wouldn't win. But technically they might have been bigger, but because they didn't get their fans to just go and be annoying assholes online and spam the shit out of this stuff on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere, they didn't win. So it's That's kind of how I felt with this campaign, because they did get on trending multiple times, which is impressive. And a lot of gacha games don't do that. Which is, you know, it's quite a statement for this game, which is not as big as a lot of the other gacha games. But it was just so annoying. And part of the campaign was you didn't have a choice. You had to like a certain amount of things that day or retweet a certain amount of things that day. And so anybody who is following you is just going to get spammed with those likes. It's just going to get spammed with those retweets every day during that campaign. And you had to do it every day during the campaign because there was no overlap. So it's not like you could spread it out. You had to do it every day. That was the only way to get all the points, to get all the rewards. So, and it also, if you missed one day, you couldn't get the top reward. It wasn't possible. And generally speaking, I mean, I haven't really been vibing with just the way anything was handled this month. I don't know. Like, in terms of the freebies, in terms of the goodies, they just, like, the login bonuses were just clapped. I don't know what was going on with that. In My Hero Academia, the login bonus is just like the same as the Hunter x Hunter Yu Hakusho thing, where it's just you get the unit and then that's it. And then it's like, oh yeah, but the rubies are integrated into the events and whatever, but it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it. So this is kind of a little bit of a rant, really, because we did get a decent amount of freebies. We got like 400 free summons, or technically 600 free summons or something. We got a lot, and we got a lot of goodies. But personally, for me, I think the 4th anniversary was a train wreck. I think the numbers will have done quite well because it was Roger. And because they were getting people to spam the shit out of it on Twitter. But I don't think that's a good thing. Because as much as I want this game to do well, I don't want them to think that that's what fans want to be doing. That is going to deter people from wanting to play the game more. It might bring in new players, but I think you're going to lose a lot of veteran players. And I would say there's been a lot of stuff they've done that I would say has been looking away from the veteran players. Yes, they've been trying to put a focus on beginner content and being more beginner friendly and bringing new people in. And I can understand that, but what does that Twitter campaign have to do with it? Nothing. It's just, it's awful. It's just spamming Twitter. There's no need for it. And if you wanted to keep those fans, if you wanted to keep all those people that came just because they saw it spammed on their Twitter feed and they're like, alright, I'll check it out, you did a terrible job, because the second half of the anniversary sucked. It fucking sucked. So, rant on the 4th anniversary over. I'm not going to go any further into it. I just think as somebody who's been playing since launch, I've seen a lot of events that have been a little bit stinky, and the only reason why I hold this one particularly in poor regard is because it's an anniversary. It's not some random throwaway ensemble event. It's supposed to be a milestone. We've been doing this for 4 years. It's supposed to be a big deal, and I don't feel like they did a sufficient job of making it feel like an anniversary, so it is what it is. Then the next thing that was supposed to be coming in April was the implementation of the My Ship update. Now, if you're not familiar, I don't really blame you. I did put a little thing on it on the news post on the OCHD website. I have talked about it briefly in videos, but yeah, we didn't have that much information on it, and the information we did have, it was like, it didn't make it sound that interesting. But to clarify, for those who don't know, the My Ship update is supposed to be an update that it's supposed to give you a sense of progression in the game. It's supposed to incentivize you to slowly work away at something over time. And the idea is that you start off with this crappy little boat, this little dinghy, whatever it is. And over time, by completing missions that I assume will take a long time, you know, clearing a certain amount of tower doors and probably evolving a certain amount of characters and clearing a certain amount of stages, using a certain amount of stamina. I don't know, like loads of missions like that. Over time, you'll develop your little dinghy into this massive, luxurious cruiser. This wonder boat, this amazing liner of a ship. And I guess they're trying to make it a sort of thing where the way they've worded it, they're saying it's supposed to be a social media thing. It's supposed to be like you have a bunch of people that follow you on Twitter and you're like, yo, here's my ship. My ship looks like this because I've put this amount of hours in. If you put this amount of hours in, your ship can look like this. And I was looking at it and I don't really get it. I say I don't really get it because the customization seems wholly limited to the path they want to send you down right now. Like they said in the future, you'll be able to put your own little twists on it. I'm assuming your own little twists is like a different coat of paint, or maybe you can put a certain series emblem on the ship, or maybe you can choose which characters are on the ship. Like maybe down the line they're gonna add customization features to make it your ship rather than just you're leveling up the ship. But right now, the implementation as it has been explained is leveling up the ship. It starts off as a dinghy and it works its way up to a bigger ship, and that's it, I guess. So it's like, oh, well, like I spent 500 hours, so this is what my ship looks like. And it's like, oh, well, mine looks better because I spent 500 hours, but I put more effort into my PvP team, so I got more wins, so mine looks like this. And it's like, I could maybe kind of see the appeal there, but really, I don't give a shit. So the only thing I would care about from this is the rewards. And I think a lot of people are kind of the same, but they seem to be spending a lot of time on dev time on this, because this is a passive game mode. This is not something you actively do every day. You don't log in and you play this stage and you try and beat this difficult content. This is something that is happening as a result of you playing the game as you normally would. So I don't really get it. I have stood by the fact that I think when this does eventually come, they're going to give us a pre-time skip Frankie as like a free-to-play unit. If they don't, I don't know what they will give us, but I hope we get something interesting out of this. I'm going to put this out here, and I know some people disagree with me on this. Emblems and chat stamps, I don't give a shit. I simply do not give a shit. If emblems were like a little bit rarer, and you know, you maybe just got one special emblem per event, and it can just be your sort of remembrance of that event, I'd probably be a bit more okay with it. But they've pushed it really hard, and I just don't care. I just don't care at all. Like, I've got my my one from the Otokojuku Feature Festival, and I haven't changed it. It's staying there. And I know some people do like them, and they do like to change them once in a while, but we're starting to get events where they're like, okay, no catastrophe costume, you just get an emblem, or you just get a chat stamp, and that doesn't motivate me to play the stage, because I don't want it. You're offering me a reward I don't want to beat a difficult stage that's going to take me a lot of time and a lot of planning. I'm not doing it. I'm not. At least with the costumes, it feels like I'm showing off a little bit, but I feel like no one even looks at my emblem. No one cares. And the chat stamps, it's like, cool, I get a chat stamp, but most of the ones they offer that are locked behind a stage, you can get them from the shop later. So I don't really get it. I'm hoping that's not going to be the core rewards from this. I'm hoping we're going to get more good stuff. And I mean, the screenshot they showed us did seem to indicate, you know, increased box space, improved stamina recharge time, all of that stuff. So it seems like all of the things that people were asking for, improve like max luck rewards and stuff, it seems they're going to try and filter it into this, which might make sense, because with the max luck rewards, they've kind of hit a point where it's like, they've left it too long. And so the players who have been doing it all along have got so many that they'd get so many rewards all at once. So the only way to prevent that would be to space everything out. And then if you space everything out, it's no longer a proper incentive for new players. It's like, oh, I gotta max another 10 characters to get like one shitty reward. I don't want to do that. So I guess this is where they've tried to put the focus, and it's going to be something where everyone's sort of starting on a semi-even playing field, and they're going to slowly work at their ship over time. I don't have much confidence in this game mode, and the devs seem to have a lot of confidence in it. So much so that they are postponing it. It is being postponed until July. Seemingly, they're just dedicated to not fucking this up. They want this to be top tier. This comes out, and this is the big thing in Jumputi. So as you can see on the screen, there is a little gap in July, so it can go in that little gap. But yeah, so the ship has been delayed. That was for the 4th anniversary. They announced the captain plan. Technically, they announced this back during 3.5 anniversary. The captain plan to launch with the 4th anniversary, which has now been delayed until July. So the captain plan, none of it is happening. We're having no, like, the major update that we're supposed to be getting, it just didn't come. So, none of that. None of that for a little while. But, moving on, end of April, start of May, we have the Golden Week celebration. For me, this celebration, and I might be being a bit melodramatic here, I don't know. For me, this celebration is a big deal. I think this could be make or break for a lot of players. I have seen a lot of veteran players, both in the English-speaking community and in the on Twitter from the Japanese-speaking side. I've seen a lot of veteran players just lose interest in the last like 6 months or so. Lots of bad decisions have been made, and when the 4th anniversary rolled around and the anniversary of it was pretty lackluster, and the roadmap for a lot of people was pretty lackluster too, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. And I think April was, but for a lot of people, April was maybe not a full skip because we got a lot of free rubies, but it wasn't a month where they were heavily invested in the game. And I think I've seen a lot of that recently, and that's not good. I know they want to constantly replace players who have felt like their time has come and they need to move on. They replace those players with new players. I can understand that, but I feel like you can have both. So why not try and have both? And also, a lot of the stuff that would appeal to these veteran players would appeal to new players. It's all about getting the balance right, you know? Like, say for example, the My Hero Academia stuff, the anniversary stuff last month. They released Deku and All Might, and they separately released a new Deku. Now, I think, personally, All Might and Deku should have been released at a different point in time. They should have been removed from that event, and the new Deku should have had a Catastrophe class costume, and it should have been like him and Shinso as the main focuses of that event. And it could have been like a whole thing, make both of the units pretty damn usable, and then it's something that both new players and veteran players can get invested in. Obviously that does leave the second part of the anniversary dead, but I don't know, fill that with like units from Taiwan that haven't made their way over yet. We've still got Aldebaran from Saint Seiya, we've still got all the surplus saints from Saint Seiya, we've still got a handful of Naruto units. Well, actually, how many units from Naruto? We still have like Minato, we still have we still have One Piece units missing. Like, I know it wouldn't have made for a particularly compelling anniversary, but the anniversary wasn't compelling anyway. So stuff a few of them in there and just give us something to do in part 2 of the anniversary, and then just lock down that My Hero Academia event. Happy days. And that's going to appeal to both. That's going to appeal to veterans, that's going to appeal to beginners. why do I care if we go from 5 Dekus to 7 in the space of 2 events? I don't. And even if I like Deku, I'm not going to be that invested. But if you release one very good Deku, I can get behind that. Even if I'm not a fan of My Hero Academia, I can get behind that. So, I don't really understand that part, but Golden Week, I think, is the turning point. Golden Week, we know nothing of this event. We know, well, what we do know, technically, and it's not necessarily part of this event, but it's something that will be happening alongside the event. The Grand Return campaign is returning. The Grand Return campaign is something that happened last year, Grand Return Festival, I should say. And it ran alongside the Dragon Ball Feature Festival, which was the Super Dragon Ball Festival, which was Majin Buu Saga Dragon Ball. And it also ran alongside the We Never Learn Feature Festival. And the way that campaign worked was we just got a bunch of goodies just for playing those events. Essentially, they just amped up the goodies for those events as a thank you. It's a thank you. The 3rd anniversary, they did big numbers and they wanted to reward the fans. And they did. They gave like 3,000 rubies plus tickets plus a bunch of other good stuff. This year, I expect the same. This is going to sound greedy, but I expect more. I'm sorry, I just do. I just think they made big numbers this year purely just from like forcibly making themselves trend on Twitter. So I really do expect like some good rewards. I guess even if it is just the 3,000 rubies and some tickets, that's better than nothing. But the one thing it absolutely cannot be is less than last year, because we keep on. It seems like every time they do a milestone event and it's supposed to be bigger and better than last time, it's got like one less unit, one less campaign, one less costume, one less something. So it should at least, as a thank you to the fans, be genuinely a thank you to the fans. Because at the end of the day, when you get paid from the sales packs, which by the way, they haven't put a lot of the good sales packs on this year. When you get paid, it comes down to people spending money on your game. And so you've got to, when you have the opportunity to show appreciation, you have to do it. And this is an opportunity to do that. Now we have, unfortunately, already seen a cutback in that regard, as we have 2 gacha related to this event, which would normally be 4 gacha. That is the Grand Return Limited gacha. Instead of having 1 red, 1 green, 1 yellow, 1 blue, they have mixed and matched and made a red and yellow banner and a green and blue banner. Now you get a free multi on each of these, but now obviously instead of getting 4 free multis, we're only getting 2. Again, I'm sure it does sound greedy, but that's stingy. That is stingy. It's still only a 5% rate. Would 4 multis kill you? Would 4 multis kill you? The 5% rate is not even for a guaranteed limited. If I get a 5-star, it could just be anybody. Anyway, I'm a little bit disappointed so far, but the hope, I guess, is that the Grand Return campaign will run throughout the course of Golden Week, and it'll be an opportunity for them to give us a lot of rewards. I am a little bit apprehensive to say that it's going to be a big event, simply because I think a lot of this event may have been tied into the release of the My Ship update, which is now not happening. Or at least it's not happening this month. So I don't know how much we can actually expect. It's a bit tough to say, but I am hoping at least that we see 2 limiteds, and there has to be a standard gacha. I know they skipped the standard gacha during Annie. You can't do that again. You can't. I'm sorry. There has to be a standard gacha, because it's the only opportunity for series that kind of don't get much content to get some content. You know, the anniversary, you got One Piece, you got My Hero Academia, you got Black Clover. All of those series have feature festivals planned for this year. They're going to get content. They're fine. Don't worry about them. The standard Gacha has the opportunity to release content for series like, I don't know, D-Gray Man. D-Gray Man's probably not going to get much content this year. Or like series like Captain Tsubasa that don't have any, like they just don't get content. It's been years. That is your opportunity. So by not doing that, it's a bit of a disservice. I know a lot of the people that come to play this game, yeah, they're coming for the big titles, but at the end of the day, it is a Shonen Jump game. Chances are, if you read any series in Shonen Jump, you probably don't just read one. If you've gone out of your way to download the Shonen Jump game, you probably read more than one Shonen Jump series. So it's a bit disappointing to think that some series don't get a lot of love. That's the whole point of this game, to give a little bit of love. And I don't know, I feel like Golden Week, we're probably going to see Kimetsu no Yaiba come back, which, as much as I am a big fan of the series, I think we are getting to a point where it's kind of taking the piss. They've just done so much Kimetsu no Yaiba content. I would argue it's improved somewhat in terms of they're not just spamming throwing stuff out as much. It's more like, this is a milestone celebration, let's release a Kimetsu no Yaiba unit that people can enjoy. And when I say it's improved, bear in mind I'm using that term very loosely. It's more of a case of, you know, say for example Tengen Uzui. We knew he was coming long ahead of time. He came out in a timely manner shortly after that part of the anime had aired. It made sense. So I think the way that one was handled was very well. You could argue Tanjiro and Gyu much less so, but that it sort of is what it is. Now, why is Tanjiro and Gyu returning? Is that an indicator that it's somehow tied into the anniversary? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. There's no real way for me to know. But I would argue that it's not necessarily an indicator that Kimetsu no Yaiba is tied in, but I still think Kimetsu no Yaiba will be tied in, just because of course it will. I think they probably wanted to put Tanjiro and Gyu as like a popular tower unit and just said, you know what, let's put some different units in there and then let's just release them separately. They're an amazing unit, don't get me wrong, but it's like, come on now. Come on now. So for Golden Week, in terms of theming, I'm not even going to hazard a guess, but I think Dragon Ball will be somehow involved, and I think Kimetsu no Yaiba will be somehow involved. Dragon Ball, because Goku Gohan Goten Day is coming up, and we would normally have a Dragon Ball festival during this period, plus with the introduction of transforming units, logically, I can't see a reason why you wouldn't release a Dragon Ball unit during the year when you introduce transforming units, because it feels like a mechanic that was almost made for them. So who it will be could be Super Saiyan Gohan transforms into Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, could be Goku transforms into Super Saiyan, could be a lot of things. I think if we were going to take one thing from the anniversary that I think was done well, I think if you're going to release a transforming unit, having a free transforming unit with it is quite cool. Obviously that takes up a lot of dev time, so I don't know if they'll do that, but if they did want to release like a good free Goku, I'd be on board for that, because we don't have a good free Goku. And then the limited can be like the Super Saiyan Gohan goes into Super Saiyan 2. Like, maybe the Goku can be like the, you know, the instant transmission when he takes Cell off the planet sort of thing. I don't know. Like, there's options. There's options. In terms of Kimetsu no Yaiba, again, could be another transforming unit. Could be Nezuko. I really feel like Nezuko is an option. Possibly, finally, we get Gyutaro. I don't know. I feel like Nezuko didn't really fight Gyutaro, though. She fought Darky more. But, you know, when have things needed to make sense? Maybe that would be their opportunity to introduce one of the other characters, like, you could have Nezuko counter Darky, and then it could drop, like, Red Light District Inosuke or something. I don't know. But, definitely Kimetsu no Yaiba is on the cards, and with the new trailer coming out for the next season of the anime, I'm sure they'll be very excited to do some Kimetsu no Yaiba stuff. As for series I'd like to see featured that maybe haven't been featured in a while, there's so many. My hope for the standard gacha is that it shows appreciation to some smaller series. And I guess the one thing I'm hoping for from Golden Week is that there's no One Piece. I just don't want any, like, look, I love One Piece as much as the next guy, but One Piece was such a big part of the anniversary. One Piece is going to be such a big part of July. Golden Week, no One Piece, please. I'm begging you. You have like 55 years worth of content almost to work with. One Piece, in the grander scheme of things, is not that. It spans a lot of it, granted, but you have so many other series to choose from. I'm begging you, no One Piece during Golden Week. Then we have Busou Renkin as the second feature festival of May, or I suppose the second event of May. I don't really know what to expect because Golden Week starts on the 29th of April, and Busou Renkin I would personally expect to only be a 1 week event because Siren was only a 1 week event, but Siren only being a 1 week event could be a result of like bad scheduling, and they just sort of had to do what they had to do. But it really did almost feel intentional, like we don't necessarily back this series to do the numbers we want, so we only want it on for 1 week. We'll see how it goes, and then if it does well, maybe later we'll do it a longer one, a proper one. But right now, like they really focused on characters from early in the series, so that if it does do well, then hey, we can do characters from later in the series and make loads more money. And if it doesn't do well, it's like, hey, you got what you wanted, it was only a 1 week event, we've moved on. So I kind of thought Busou Renkin is almost definitely going to be the exact same thing. I think maybe it does have a bit more of a trust factor built in, because it is made by the mangaka of Rurouni Kenshin. So there is sort of that feeling of some of the Kenshin fans might pull on it or something. I don't know, but I still kind of think it might only be a 1 week event. I think there's a very good chance that Golden Week is 3 weeks, and then Busou Renkin is only 1 week, and then like the end of May is going to lead us into June and the June campaigns. So I don't know what to expect from Busou Renkin. To be honest, I've only read like a few chapters here and there. But I'm hoping it gets the same treatment as Siren. That's all I'll say. I'm hoping it gets at least similar treatment, because I think they did good service on Siren. I was very happy. Now for the campaigns and stuff, obviously as a part of the Golden Week campaign, we have reached 1,500 days since release, which is huge. It's a long period of time. I can't really think of any characters that tie into the number 1,500. Maybe there is one you can think of. I don't really know. I would say the only thing I would say is, take the zeros away. 1,500 is Ichigo. So I wouldn't rule out Bleach playing a role. I'd be down for a new farmable Ichigo. I don't know if I'm ready for a new limited Ichigo just yet, but I mean, I guess it has been a while. The last one was Mugetsu, right? That was quite a long time ago. So maybe it is time for a new Ichigo during Golden Week. I don't know, but that's all I can really garner from 1,500 days since release. The only other thing I would say is, guys, it's been 1,500 days. You got to hit us with the rewards. I want this event to feel like the most generous you have been in a long time, and I just want to have fun. That's all I want. That's all I want. Now, as for the captain plan, the updates to My Ship, obviously that will be delayed along with the implementation of My Ship, so we can't expect anything from that. And the new functionalities. Updates to team investment. They've been saying for a long time that they would do this, and it just kept getting delayed. It kept on getting no release date, whatever. Seemingly, it's there, and it's gonna come in May, and I assume this is going to give us the ability to donate 1 million coins at once, and hopefully give us the opportunity to add more than 1 million. Maybe like 5 million, 10 million. Again, at once. I want it to be at once. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, the way they worded it on the stream did seem to suggest it would just be increasing the upper limit. So maybe it's 5 million, maybe it's like 50 million, I don't know, a day. But we need the button that lets you do it all at once. Because in general, the Unity battle screen is a little bit tedious to navigate, so fix that, please. Just fix that. And the gacha skip function, which seems like it's something that should already be here. It's not. A lot of games have it. You just click skip and then you don't have to watch any of the animations. You just see what characters you got. In this game, you kind of have to tap, 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 tap. Plus, there's a load of loading screens and stuff. So, I mean, I guess it's a nice update. I don't normally skip myself, but I guess that's more a case of I'm so used to making YouTube videos that the only time I would skip is if I knew the multi was there, then there's no point in watching it. So I don't know. And they are planning to add a PvP training mode. Now, I think this is a very good addition to the game. While I personally absolutely do not give a shit about it, I know that there are a lot of people that are very invested in PvP, and giving them the ability to test stuff out without consuming the tickets each day, because you only get 5 tickets a day, I think that's very good. For the people that do want to play PvP, that is a great utility and a great addition. Moving on to June. June is a troublesome time for me because we have 2 feature festivals that are from series that I am a big fan of. I would argue I'm a much bigger fan of Katekyo Hitman Reborn than I am of the Prince of Tennis, but Katekyo Hitman Reborn has already had 2 feature festivals. Prince of Tennis has had none. So I'm kind of more drawn towards Prince of Tennis and seeing what they're going to do with that. To be honest, I think they should try and focus on getting some of the Seigaku members in there. There might be a bit of, like, it's not recency bias. Is it recency bias? I don't know. But all of the stuff that's been focused in other Prince of Tennis media, like the new Prince of Tennis, and they did like some like live action stuff, and they had some movies, and they had like a 3D CG movie, and they had some of the matches that were like off screen compiled into OVAs and stuff. All of this stuff sort of unrelated to the Prince of Tennis main series as it appeared in Weekly Shonen Jump. All of those things I feel like might influence their decisions on what they would add. So they might choose to add characters from Rakaidai or Hyote just because that was one of the OVAs that were compiled, or they might decide to add Nanjiro Echizen because that's what the 3D CG movie was about, or whatever. Or maybe they'll focus on what's happening in the new Prince of Tennis, and they'll add the characters from that, but obviously in the forms from the current Prince of, or the original run of Prince of Tennis. I don't really know, but my advice to the devs would be, just give us the characters from Seigaku, I'm begging you. You did the same thing with Black Clover and I didn't understand it. Why didn't you just add the Black Balls? They've started doing it now, but it's like they're like the main characters. They're like the main characters. How are you not adding them? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Well, Katekyo Hitman Reborn, they added all the Guardians. So why wouldn't you add all the... It doesn't make sense. So Prince of Tennis, add all of Seigaku. Maybe not all of it in this event, but you know, we can get Momo. We can get Kaido. Maybe like Oishi and Kikamaru. And yes, add some of the characters they play against, but like as event units. And then maybe the limited can be a new Ryoma, because the one we've got is kind of old, and then job done. I know it's a little bit weird with Ryoma, because it's like... The one we've got is like endgame Ryoma. So you kind of have to go earlier in the series to give a limited. but because it's come out much later in time, it's going to be a better unit. But they've done that with other characters before, so it's fine, I guess. They could also, like, they've opened up the doors with, like, transforming units and dual units and stuff. They can maybe have a bit more fun with it. So I'll be interested to see what they actually do with Prince of Tennis. And it's Katekyo Hitman Reborn. I don't know what they're gonna do with Reborn. I actually don't know, because logically to me, the things that stand out as good ideas, maybe you could do perhaps Suna dual unit with Enma. You could do Suna dual unit with Reborn. You could do Reborn by himself as a transforming unit, transforms into adult Reborn. That would be cool. Maybe like mini Reborn can be a buffer and adult Reborn can be his own sort of damage dealer. That would be awesome. I personally think it would be really cool to see an Arco Baleno event and have all of those units be the focus rather than the Guardians and stuff. But I don't know if they do that, especially because the idea of like the transforming units or whatever, like maybe that's too much, having like each of the Arco Baleno get a transforming unit, but maybe they won't do it. Maybe they'll just like have them as their little chibis, and then maybe only Reborn gets the transformation treatment. I don't know. But that would be interesting to see. They could always do like Xanzus as a limited. I still think that would be really, really cool. You could go back and have another go at the future arc, because they really didn't touch on that much. You could even go back as far as Varia. There's still loads of stuff missing from that. There is a lot of content they can do, but I think it's going to be difficult to keep people engaged, because this is the third Katekyo Hitman Reborn event. You can't be giving us like another standard Gacha Hibari, another standard Gacha Yamamoto. Like, people are not going to be interested, I don't think. Maybe if they did a limited Hibari, you could get away with it. I don't know, but I think you've just got to be a little bit delicate with which units you add, because Suna definitely feels like similar situation as like Midoriya and Asta. It's just another unit and another unit. So I probably want to avoid that. But you could maybe add some of the other characters as like, maybe if you didn't want to focus on like the final arc as much, you could make like Yamamoto a free unit countered by Adult Reborn, because he did train him, so that could work. There are options. There are certainly options. I personally think it would be very cool to see the Arco Baleno in the Jumputi style, and I think it would be a completely different approach. And I think a lot of the characters are quite endearing from that arc, and Adult Reborn I think would do quite well. So that's my personal opinion. But I'm a big fan of the series, so whatever they do, I just hope we're just not milking the same characters again. If you've got to do new characters, try and do something new with them. You know, Hibari, the thing that hit Hibari really hard is the same thing that hit Gara really hard. He was the exact same type, and he was exactly the same standard gacha. And you're making the units compete with each other, essentially. And in the case of Hibari, a lot of people would say version 1 Hibari was pretty good. Version 2 Hibari not as good. Simply because version 1 Hibari was the buffer, but there's a lot to consider. But I'm excited for that month. I just don't know if my rubies are going to be able to cover it. It's going to be very tricky. Now, there's also a campaign based around June brides, which is a thing. I mean, if you Google it, it is a thing. Typically, weddings take place in the summer because that's the time people like to have weddings, I guess. But what's it going to be? What kind of campaign, what kind of event is it going to be? There is an argument to be had that if Buso Renkin is only a week, back in May, the Katekyo Hitman Reborn maybe starts at the end of May, spills over into June, and then Prince of Tennis, there's a bit more space in and around Prince of Tennis to maybe do another little event, or maybe there's some kind of overlap. Because the thing about the June brides is, okay, this goes back to the interview with GameBiz, where the new assistant producer was basically introduced as somebody that was not only going to take into consideration the needs and the wants and the things that would appeal to new players, but as somebody that would also do the same thing for female players. I guess the feeling was that Jumputi hadn't focused on enough series that were popular with female manga readers. And so even though Jumputi has quite a large portion of female players, 25%, which for a gacha game is quite a lot, they weren't doing enough to appeal to that 25% and potentially bring in more female players, which is what the new assistant producer is trying to do. So I really feel like June is definitely, I mean, if you're familiar with these two series, they have quite large female fan bases. And June Brides, that could go one of two ways. It could be brides, it could be female characters that maybe have like, that maybe are related to marriage. I mean, there are characters that do get married in Weekly Shonen Jump. Off the top of my head, Kinnikuman got married, Hinamaru got married, the Asanos from Yozakura Family. Is it Asano? Taiyo Asano, I think. Regardless, Yozakura Family, they got married. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There definitely are more. Naruto and Hinata, married. Ichigo and Orihime, married. Goku and Chi-Chi, married. There's a lot of marriages, but all the ones I can think of I wouldn't necessarily associate with female forward series that are supposed to appeal to female female readers, because I feel like a lot of those intentionally what's the word, sort of lead the readers on in order to keep getting them to buy merch and stuff. It's the same thing that you will see with like harem series as well. They never conclude, or very rarely do they conclude. The idea is they're trying to give the male readers a bit of a fantasy, and they kind of kill that fantasy once they give it an ending, you know? And I think it's the same with a lot of these, you know, like Prince of Tennis and stuff. Like, Ryoma doesn't get the girl, really. Ryoma just kind of carries on playing tennis. And that's that. And that's that. And any sort of implied romance is normally very one-sided, or it's like between the dudes. It's not one of these side female characters that have nothing to do with the main story. Those are the only ones that are sort of implied. So it's, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with this June Brides thing, because it could just be like, oh, you're, as a fan, as a player of the game, you're choosing who you want to be your husbando. Or it could be like a bunch of female characters that get the sort of attention they deserve as like the bridal characters or whatever. But I don't really know, and I don't have much confidence in it, to be honest, because that looks like a pretty stacked month. June looks stacked, and I don't know how they're gonna squeeze it all into 1 month. Like, say for example, even if it was just like costumes, take a lot of work. I know I've been saying for a long time I would like to see costumes return, but I can appreciate that it does take a lot of effort to add costumes in for all of these characters, and maybe it's just too much, you know, and so maybe they can't do it. But then who's it gonna be, and how's it gonna be implemented? Like, I just can't. I can't think. I can't think. I've been pushing for a long time for Chi-Chi to be added. So maybe it'll be her in some way, shape or form. I don't know. But around this time, around June, maybe around July, we would be expecting the choice ticket pool update. If you're new to the game, you might not know about this, but the choice ticket pool updates every year. So if you have a choice ticket right now and you keep it, come June or July, they're going to add the 2021 characters to that pool. So it's pretty good. It is pretty good. You know, normally they update the standard tickets back in like January, February time, and then you pull on those there. And then if you don't get who you want, if you've saved the choice ticket until June, July, you can choose who you want, which is very nice. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe the June Bride thing will have some kind of tie-in with that campaign. I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the brides thing. I can't think. I cannot think. I'm excited to find out what it will be. I guess I'll put it like that. And if you have any ideas on what it could be, please do leave a comment and let me know. Because I don't necessarily see how it ties into those events. Maybe they'll add the sort of peripheral female characters from those two series, Kyoko and Haru and I can't remember her name. Ryuzaki Sensei's granddaughter. I can't remember her name. Maybe they'll add those characters and that'll be something. It's interesting. Hopefully it wasn't something tied into the My Ship, because if it was, then that's not going to happen now. But got a little while to wait for that, so we'll see. We'll see. And the updates to the game coming during that period are improvements to team building, including copying teams in whatever that game mode's called, Shining Light of a Lost Civilization or whatever. Which is cool. I mean, any improvements to team building is always going to be useful. I know for a lot of new players when they come in, it's a little bit overwhelming. There's all these buttons, they all do different things, but over time you do get used to it. And even if it's not in your native language, even if it's a language you can't understand at all, you generally do just learn over time. Oh, that squiggly line means this and that means that. And even if I can't read it, I can sort of interpret what it's trying to tell me, so it's fine. And then improvements to pulling on gacha, which seems to be like being able to do multis on tickets that previously it wasn't possible to do multis on. Potentially some of the tickets where you can only do 5, maybe you can do 10. I'm hoping it's the same update that a lot of gacha games have now, where it's like, if you've got 1 ticket, you do a single. If you've got, 10 tickets, you do your multi. But if you've got like 7, you just do 7. Something like that. Because a lot of games do that now, and there's no reason not to have that. We do still need updates to the gacha animations. We need fake outs and stuff like that. The gacha animations haven't been updated since the first year, so definitely need that. We would like so many different improvements to the gacha, but I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, and I'm just going to say anything we can get, thank you. Just thank you. Moving on to July, we have the Speaking of Summer event. No information on this event right now. I don't know what to really expect from summer. I mean, I guess we have had summer events in the past that have just kind of been summer stuff, characters in bikinis or swim shorts or whatever. And we had the Nisakyu event. We had the Gintama event where you were chasing down beetles in the forest and stuff. Like, we've had summer events in the past, so it might just be more of the same. I can't really think of anything in particular other than that. I can't think of anything they've teased in the past. I mean, I guess this would be a good opportunity to mention there are some series they've said will be added that haven't been added yet, which would include we have Shinigami Infirmary, we have the Naruto spin-off, which is the 7th Hokage in the Scarlet Springs, we have Stone Ocean, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, Stone Ocean, and Magical Girl Patissier Kasaki-chan, which is a Jump Plus spin-off of Nisekoi. So, could one of those series feature? Technically, we talked about the June Brides thing. Technically, that series does have a marriage, the Kasaki-chan one. If you're unfamiliar with the series, a brief overview. Essentially, it uses a lot of the same characters from Nisekoi, but this is a sort of alternate universe. And in this alternate universe, Kosaki marries, I think it's supposed to be the Nisekoi protagonist, if I remember correctly, but it might not. It might be, I think it is Raku Ichijo. It might not be. I don't know, but she does marry this character at some point in the series, so that could be the tie into the June Brides thing I mentioned before. But also, like, all the characters are also magical girls, and it's drawn by the artist that did We Never Learn. Also, the official like manga releases is like 18 plus. Like it's not like fully pornographic, but it's like, you know, it's 18 plus. It's similar to a release of like To Love Ru or like Yuna's Haunted Hot Springs, which is odd, I guess. But yeah, it's a different look at the story. And it's quite a, you know, cute little story, whatever. If you're into sort of ecchi stuff as well, there's a bit of that too. But other than the June Brides event, maybe I can't really see it fitting into the summer event, so I'm guessing when it does come, it will be there. If not, it will be shifted to the later section of the roadmap. But in terms of the summer stuff, there's nothing there that screams summer to me. None of those series that they've announced scream summer to me. And I would say sports, but there is actually a sports series on the roadmap already, or there is a sports series, there is also a sports event on the roadmap already. So probably not sports. so what's it gonna be? That is really tricky. And I mean, obviously one of the big series you would normally associate with summer is One Piece. Of course, One Piece does have an event in July already, so hoping that it's not One Piece. I'm hoping, I don't know, I'm just hoping for a cool summer event. If we go back to the way they did summer events in the past, I'd be okay with that. Maybe a couple of costumes, maybe just like a few new like seasonal standard gacha units, and just a fun old time. A fun old time. That's all I want. That's all these seasonal events need to be. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try and tie things into themes too much. Just release a version of a character, maybe in a swimsuit, or some kind of summer gear, and then just have a fun old time with it. So that's the summer event. And again, if you have any ideas of what the summer event could entail, leave a comment. But for One Piece is celebrating the 25th anniversary, and so obviously for One Piece Day in July, we will be having a One Piece event. Now, One Piece Day, let me actually Google, when is One Piece Day? One Piece Day is July 22nd, so that is definitely the latter half of July, but the event will probably start around middle of July. And what do we expect for this? I'm going to be real with you, and this is mild spoilers for One Piece for like, well, actually, is it mild spoilers or is it major spoilers? Spoilers for One Piece if you're not reading the manga for like the next 30 seconds, so skip ahead. I think they should add Gear 5 Luffy during this period, and they should focus mainly on the final battle at the final battle of Wano. Now, spoilers over. The reason I say this is because I think the devs sort of at some point made an announcement that was like, we're going to try and not spoil stuff for anime only, because we've done that a few times and we don't want to do that anymore. We're going to try and focus on stuff that's manga versions of stuff that has happened in the anime, sort of thing. And at first I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of get it, but as time's moved on, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, that's your unique selling point. Your unique selling point is that you're based around Shonen Jump manga. So why are you worried so much about the anime? If somebody's playing this game, they are probably aware of Shonen Jump in some capacity. It shouldn't be a big deal. I don't really understand it. Like, releasing something from the most recent chapters of One Piece, like, they've got time from what has happened recently in One Piece up until July. They've got time to release a character, and I think that's what they should have done. And yeah, it could be something else. It could be like Yamato, or, you know, it could be finally they're gonna reunite all the Straw Hats, because we still don't have Jinbei on the Japan server. And there's a lot of stuff they could do, and I think the One Piece event is probably going to be quite a big event. But last year, I've got to be honest, the One Piece event stank, which is weird because One Piece seems to appear in every event, but like that particular One Piece event focusing on the worst generation, yeah, I didn't enjoy it at all. So I would like a new approach. I'm hoping they can just do a bigger One Piece event. Bear in mind, I'm only saying bigger One Piece event because it should be supplementing in the whole load of One Piece content that is already out on the Taiwan server. You should be bringing those characters over, and then also adding like a handful of other characters. I am a little bit worried that it's just going to be Wano Feature Festival #2, and it's going to be just a bunch of characters from Wano, and then that's that. It's just going to be like, you know, we already got Onami and O-Robin. Maybe we get the Wano versions of the other Straw Hats and then call it a day. Like, I feel like it really could be that, and I feel like that's really not a good idea. I don't think that is a good approach. Now, whether or not they will approach it that way, I don't know, but bear in mind, when they released Robin for New Year, at the time, that was the most recent thing that had happened in the manga, in any manga in the game that had been released on Jumputi. That was specifically her ultimate attack, which was a reference to a fight that had only happened a few months before. So that was the most recent thing. Out of all of the series in Jumputi, that was the most recent thing. Now we have the transforming Asta, which is the most recent thing. That came out, like, again, a few months before. So, bear in mind, a few months before, 3 months before, 4 months before, around there. The most recent developments in One Piece happened within the last month or two, and they got a couple more months, 2-3 months before the One Piece stuff drops. There is sufficient time for them to translate that into content in the game, and that will be their unique selling point for that event. If you are going to release a One Piece Day event, you are competing against all the other One Piece gacha. What is the thing that makes a One Piece fan that has limited income spend on your game instead of their games if you release something that the other games don't have? So that's what I would do. I don't think they'll do it, but I really feel like that's the right choice. There might be some reason why they can't do it. They might have had, like, the Shonen Jump executives or like Shueisha or something might have said, you know, try and lay off the more recent stuff because the other games, they have their own rights and stuff. But bear in mind, those games specifically have the rights to use the anime characters. That's why those games quite often have voice acting in it and this one doesn't. This game has the rights to use the manga characters, and as such should use the manga characters. If there is something unique about this game compared to One Piece Treasure Cruise, compared to One Piece Bounty Rush, or whatever those other ones are, I'm trying to remember what that other one was called. Thousand Storm, you know, all of those. The one thing that makes this game unique is it can use manga exclusive content. Those games can use anime exclusive content, movies and whatever. This game can't do that. But this game can release stuff early. We've missed the boat on a few characters in the past. We should have been the first game to have Roger. We should have been the first game to have Yamato. Don't fumble the bag again. This is your opportunity. If I am an avid One Piece fan and there's all this crazy stuff coming out for One Piece Day and One Piece Treasure Cruise and all these other things, Jumputi can have a unique character that they don't have, and that might just take my money. So that's my suggestion to the devs, which they will never hear, obviously, but hopefully they are on the same wavelength. And we also have updates from July. We have the Friendpoint Gacha updates, which we need new characters in there. We need new items in there. Just everything needs to be redone with it. There's no reason why there shouldn't be more stuff in there. And there is no reason for friend points to have a cap on them. You should be able to save up as many as you want. But I'm hoping all of those updates come. And that's it. That's it for July. That's all there is to say. August. August is the big one. August is the big one because August has the release of 1010, which is a special event. There are a lot of things this could be, and I think the most likely thing this is 1010 is the number of units that Jumputi had in the game when it renewed its record with Guinness World Records. Now, if I recall, and I haven't actually tried this, I do believe you can check Guinness World Records on their website. So I'm going to have a look and see. I think you have to type in number of comic book characters or something. Number of unique comic book characters. I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to find anything because there's a lot of results. Okay, so I have found it. And so it says the record holder is Jumputi Heroes from Japan. The record is the most licensed manga characters in a mobile game with a number of 476 achieved by Jumputi Heroes Japan, released by Line Corporation, as verified on the 2nd of December 2019. Now, since the 2nd of December 2019, we have reached and exceeded 1,000 units, and of course we've reached and exceeded 1,010 units. And the reason why I would make a point of that is because, I mean, we're past that number now. When that record was reached, we didn't celebrate reaching that record until much later because they had a whole ceremony for it, and they had the picture day with it, and then they had to prepare an event for it, and then they released that in like a few months later. So, if we reach that event, they might have done the exact same thing, taken a few months to prepare for it, and then boom, they release it, and then it would be officially renounced. So technically, it is still possible that this record has been reached, has been renewed or whatever, and now we're going to have that record on the Guinness World Records website as 1,010 units. But they just haven't updated it yet because the official announcement hasn't happened yet. Potentially. But the thing you're all expecting me to talk about, the thing that I've mentioned before, and the thing that it's the elephant in the room, for sure. 1010 is another way of saying the words Juju in Jujutsu Kaisen. That is one way it could be interpreted. Now, do I think Jujutsu Kaisen is coming during that period? I would have to say yes, and I've predicted Jujutsu Kaisen many times in the past. However, the difference here is, right, for them to know that so many fans are desperate for Jujutsu Kaisen to be added, for them to know that it is something that if they added it to the game, it would definitely generate them a lot of money. It's something that is definitely a glaring omission from the game, and it's something that people have been very vocal about in the past. If you go on the live streams, people are tweeting about it constantly. People are posting in the comments constantly. They want it so bad. They want it so bad. So, to know all of this, and to know that the numbers 1010 could easily be interpreted as a hint towards Jujutsu Kaisen, and then to put that in, knowing that it wasn't a hint to Jujutsu Kaisen and it was just to some random event, I think that would be a very, very stupid move. And as I mentioned before, fumbling the bag. If there is a reason why you can't include Jujutsu Kaisen, which is entirely feasible, there might be a reason. If there is a reason you can't include it, I would avoid at all costs mentioning it in any way. If there is just a rights thing and you just got to be like, look, we can't add it because of this reason, and then that's that job done, then fair enough. But that is the only context wherein I would mention it. I would not give any teasers that could easily be mistaken to be teasing that series, because then I'm gonna look like an idiot when the event gets teased and all the comments turn on me all of a sudden. They go, hang on a minute, where's Jujutsu Kaisen? So I think Jujutsu Kaisen will come. I don't think it will be a Jujutsu Kaisen feature festival. I think it's going to be some kind of ensemble event, and it might well be that world record event, but I think Jujutsu Kaisen will play a part in that. I've said before, I do think they should start with Jujutsu Kaisen 0, and they should work their way up from there. You know, Kotodaman has done a Jujutsu Kaisen event. 22 characters in that. 22. You've already got 2 versions of Yuta, you've got 2 versions of Yuji, you've got 2 versions of Gojo. There's no reason they can't do the same here. And I would argue, you know, you can give us a limited Gojo, you can give us a Muso Gojo, you can give us a standard Gacha Yuta, a limited Yuta, standard Gacha Yuji, limited Yuji, Dark Hero Sukuna limited, whatever. Like the options, there are so many options. And the way they've milked Kimetsu no Yaiba, it's good, but they could have done more. And I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen, that's going to be the opportunity. You're starting fresh. You know how big the series is already, so you proceed accordingly. And I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping this event is going to be something really nice, like possibly, I don't know, 10-10 could be like 10 new characters from 10 new series. That would be crazy. That would be crazy, but it's feasible, right? Because if they did an ensemble event and it's like, you know, introducing 10 characters, that's not crazy. 10 characters, obviously 10 new series might be a little bit crazy, but let's say you added just a normal version of Yuta in. That's your one character from Jujutsu Kaisen. There'll be more Jujutsu Kaisen later, and then you could add one character from Magical Patissier Kosaki-chan. That could be your second new series, assuming that wasn't added during the June Brides thing. Then Shinigami Infirmary, then Kimetsu no Yaiba side story Gyu or side story Rengoku. Like a lot of the side story stuff, it doesn't feel like a new series, but I mean, you could make the argument. You definitely could. You could do the same with, you know, people complained about Ageha going straight in at limited. People complained about Giorno going straight in at limited. Maybe with Jolene, they just release her standard gacha in a throwaway event like this one, the 10-10 one. Then when we finally get a Stone Ocean event, make her a limited. That is definitely an option. I'm just saying, that's definitely an option. And I think that would be really cool. If they're going to do one of two things, I don't think I would want a Jujutsu Kaisen feature festival straight away, because it would be sandwiched between 2 other feature festivals, and then there'd be another feature festival after that. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, I think it should be an ensemble, but it should introduce it. And they should be like, look, there's more coming in the future. And in that way, people have ample time to go, okay, I can save. And I just think that's good. I do think that's good. In terms of the Black Clover event, I don't really care that much. I don't in any way dislike Black Clover. I've made my thoughts very clear about how I feel about the series. I think it is pretty much Shonen Jump Fairy Tail, which is not a... It sounds like a derogatory thing, but I actually really like Fairy Tail. I just think it's a certain kind of series. At a certain point you accept it's a certain kind of series that leads to certain kinds of storylines and certain kinds of characters being added. And that's fine. It really is fine. And the artwork is very good, but it does mean that when the event finally comes around, a lot of the characters I'm probably hoping for are probably not gonna get in. Like, I want them to add more of the Black Balls still, but they're probably not gonna add more of the Black Balls. We're probably gonna get another new, maybe Yuno, and maybe like a new Noel, and I think new Noel makes sense, and that's fine. And I know the Black Clover fans want that, so I like, make her a limited. I am perfectly okay with that. I'd really like a limited Mario Leona. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'd really like it. And I mean, maybe I shouldn't be thinking too much about what I would like to see from Black Clover, because if 1010 is as good as an event as I'm hoping it will be, I'm probably not going to have any rubies, so I probably don't want anything anything good. I don't know what arc they're going to focus on, but based on that transforming Asta, I would argue that they're probably going to focus on quite recent stuff. And I mean, if you're up to date on Black Clover, there's been some pretty hype stuff towards the end of the arc that's just passed, so there's definitely some characters that I'd be tempted to pull for. I don't know who's actually going to get the go-ahead and who's actually going to be added, because we've got quite a lot of Black Clover content in the last 2 years, so it's pretty difficult to nail down who's going to get added and who's not. It feels like every time I do predictions, there's a character I think is like an absolute shoo-in, and they just don't get a look in at all. Like, I really thought we'd get Limited Noel by now, and we don't. So, what do I know? What do I know? And then, yeah, the campaigns. What is 1010? Now, an important thing to note here is it's saying, like, play throughout the holidays. During the summer holidays in Japan, gacha games tend to try and put some kind of campaign on to get you involved, to get you wanting to play more, because you're at home. And if you're at home and you're not at school, that means you have more time on your hands. And if I'm a developer and I know that my users have more time on their hands, I want them to be spending more of their time playing my game. Because if they're spending more time playing my game and they're enjoying my game, they're more likely to spend money on my game. So that's what they're trying to do there. I think they're going to have a lot more stuff to do during the summer. I'm hoping we're moving out of this rough period we're in. I don't know. Some people might disagree. They might say we're not in a rough period, but to me it definitely feels like, I would say March and April at least has been pretty rough. There has been good things added. There have been things that I thought were really nice added. Like, I think Yusuke and Gon is really cool. I think, you know, My Hero Academia, the event was different, but there was definitely some good elements to it. I think Roger was a must-have as a Muso, and I think it's very cool he's been added. The new transformation mechanic, it takes up more dev time, which is not a good thing, but it's a cool idea on paper. There are some cool things here, but generally speaking, the content has been a bit lacking, in my opinion. And I'm hoping we're moving away from that. I don't know if we are. I have no way to know, but I'm hoping we are. And I'm hoping that during the summer, at least during the summer, they sort of pile on the extra content. Even if it is just stuff taken from the Taiwan server. Bro, if the 1010 event is like 10 characters imported from the Taiwan server, oh my god. There's no way though. There's no way. And it says August My Ship updates. Now, obviously, in July, we'll be seeing the implementation of My Ship. And there are 2 updates scheduled that should have happened by the time we hit August. So, I don't know what's going to happen with that. But my issue is less with that and more with the other updates, which we'll talk about when we get to them. And then UI improvements or general updates. I mean, it does say there'll be UI improvements, but we need quite a few of those, so I'm not going to go into too much detail there. But just little things here and there would make it a lot easier. New elements related to 1010. Now, a few people have rightly asked me, if 1010 is alluding to Jujutsu Kaisen, what could new elements related to 1010 actually mean? And I think one of 2 things is definitely possible. Number 1 would be if 1010 is to celebrate like our new world record milestone, whatever. New elements to 1010 related to 1010 could be, we've tidied up the UI so it's easier for you to filter by series. It's easier to filter events by series. It's easier to find the content you want amongst the series that have been added, amongst the characters that have been added. There's a lot of things that it could be in that sense. Like, if it is a world record, it could just be just loads of stuff related to, look at all these characters we've got. Here's all the different ways you can get new characters, whatever. If it is Jujutsu Kaisen, if 1010 is alluding to Jujutsu Kaisen, I would really like to see, and I've said this before, a new mechanic that could be introduced through Jujutsu Kaisen through domain expansion. So if you haven't read Jujutsu Kaisen, domain expansion is kind of one of the special abilities in the series, and it traps the opponent within a domain of your creation, within a curse of your creation of sorts. And they sort of, there's different rules related to it. I mean, it's quite similar to Nen in that regard, but the idea is it's like you're trapping them in your world, essentially. Something you have constructed that is entirely within the control of your cursed energy, and you might have certain rules set up and whatever. My idea is that this would be similar to, if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh!, like a field spell in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like you get the one that's like the castle that boosts whatever type of, like it might give boosted attack to barbarian characters or whatever. You play the castle and suddenly you're not playing on just a normal battlefield, you're playing on a castle and all your characters are in a castle. And it changes the battlefield and thus it changes the way you play. Maybe boosted stats, maybe debuffs, maybe certain conditions are set. I would like to see that introduced through characters, and I think Jujutsu Kaisen would be the perfect series to do that. So maybe if you have the new Gojo, maybe Gojo comes out, he's a limited, just for argument's sake, and he uses his domain expansion. You are now in Gojo's domain, and when he uses domain expansion, maybe everybody gets hit with a certain debuff, maybe certain characters get boosted attack, maybe I don't know, there could be some ways to possibly debuff certain types of characters, or for you to buff yourself, or I don't know, maybe it could be like a high risk, high reward type situation where it's like you get boosted damage for one turn, but then the next turn you're fucked, you're out of energy, whatever. There's a few different options with that, but the idea would be you press a button and suddenly you're not on the whatever state. Say you're in tower and you're on the top floor of tower. The background would change. You're not on the top floor of tower anymore. You're in Gojo's domain. And so the whole background changes. Everyone's within Gojo's domain. And you could do the same thing with, say, Dragon Ball. It's a very common trope in Dragon Ball. They're fighting in the city and Goku's like, no, fuck you. Let's go somewhere abandoned and fight, and then I can show you my real power. We don't have to hold back, and I don't have to try and stop you from fighting civilians, and then you get some kind of buff. And maybe there could be different conditions to it, like maybe Gojo's one could only be like one turn, and it gives you like some crazy buff, and then it automatically reverts back. But maybe with Goku's one, it's like, it's not as good a buff, but you go to a different place and you stay there, sort of thing, until somebody else uses theirs. And so it would be like a switch of location. I don't know what you'd call it, but like field change or whatever, something like that. But domain expansion could be the first one that introduces that. I think that would make sense. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but I hope I have. And I think certain series work better with it than others. Like I don't really know, like Kimetsu no Yaiba, like I can't imagine them doing a Kimetsu no Yaiba unit with like a scene change, but maybe Muzan could have it. He could snap his fingers and you fall into the, that's kind of spoilers. Oh, well, whatever. The infinite thing. I don't want to spoil it, I don't know. But Muzan could be like a unit like that. Or what other series? Like One Piece, is there anybody? Katakuri took you to like Mirror World or whatever. He could be one, I guess. Or like, oh, the new character we mentioned, there's a spoiler. That could definitely be some kind of scene change character. Obviously, if that came out in the One Piece event, that wouldn't work for this, but definitely could. Because spoilers, he does change the scene for some of the characters. There's options. There's options. Well, even like in One Piece, even going back to Doflamingo, the awakening his devil fruit, and it changes the landscape. Like, it could be the same thing. And like maybe some of them are like they're up until you take damage, or they're up while your HP is at within a certain threshold, or with a certain amount of turns have taken place, or maybe only against certain enemies, or like there could be different ways to do it. After you use your ultimate attack, it changes the field, but then somebody else could change the field by using theirs, and so on and so forth. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like them to try some more interesting things like that. Whether they will or not remains to be seen. But August, definitely interesting. Moving on to September. September, we have a Gintama Feature Festival. Now, to be fair, it's been a while. We haven't had much Gintama content in the last year or so. So, as much as I'm not a big fan of the series, it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. I don't really know what they're going to cover. I think we had talked about in the past, there was a candidate for a Muso in Gintama. Potentially being... I'm trying to remember his name. Is it like Shoyo? Is it Shoyo from Gintama? Let me look. Shoyo... Yoshida Shoyo, who is also known as Utsuro. Potentially Muso tier character, highest tier of rarity character, I have been told by the Gintama fans. And so perhaps we did say maybe the next Muso will be a Dark Heroes Muso, maybe he gets added. But if Gintama is coming just before the 4.5 anniversary, that's probably not going to be the case. So how is it going to work exactly? That's... I don't know. I guess it wouldn't be Gintama, but then who are we going to get from Gintama? Now, I'm not worried about Gintama running out of content because there's so many chapters and we haven't touched too much of it, so that would be cool. Who do I expect to see? It's a bit difficult for me to say because I've read about 100 chapters or something, but I haven't gone much further than that. So, I don't know. I think we have talked in the past about there's definitely content that could be dual units. We could get... Gintoki and Katsura, or Gintoki and Takasugi, or something like that. But I don't know. So that's one for the Gintama fans. Who do you think you're going to see? Because I really don't know. But that will definitely be good for me because it'll give me an opportunity to say before the anniversary. Or will it? Because September's a little bit different. The last... since... The third Annie, the 3.5 Annie, and the fourth Annie all had the month before dedicated to a Grand Alliance Festival. Grand Alliance Festivals are the crossover events between two series. So the last 3 anniversaries have had a crossover event the month before covering that whole month. And that was your opportunity to save before the anniversary. This year, leading up to the 4.5 anniversary, not the case. We have the Speaking of Autumn, A Time to Move Your Body event. And it has been confirmed that this will be a sports event. It has been confirmed that this will include content from Haikyuu and from Kuroko no Basket. And, well, what else? I don't know. But, seeing as the assistant producer seems to have had a lot of input on this event, it does appear to be that it will be series that are more female friendly, and that is the kind of event they're going for. So in the case of Haikyuu, quite a big female fan base. In the case of Kuroko no Basket, quite a big female fan base. And we talked before about Kateko Hime Reborn and the Prince of Tennis. So that does kind of narrow down our options in terms of sports, because certain sports series are more popular with female readers than others. Sadly, an example of that would be Captain Tsubasa, not as popular with female readers, even though it is a huge series when compared to a series like The Prince of Tennis. So we might see more Prince of Tennis here. It is not uncommon for them to release a feature festival and then have a few extra units left over that they've made, but then they've saved it for like another ensemble or whatever. So potentially could see a few Prince of Tennis units in there. We're definitely seeing Kuroko and Haikyuu. I'm guessing as those two have been featured, those are probably the 2 limiteds. So I'm thinking Kuroko and Kagami dual unit. As for Haikyuu, I'm not exactly sure now. maybe just like a new version of Hinata, or I don't know. There's quite a lot of Haikyuu stuff missing though, so we'll see. But now we have had like a dual unit as an opponent now. We've had All For One and Shigaraki as an opponent, as a farmable dual unit. So there is no reason why we couldn't get the Mia brothers as a farmable dual unit. So I am kind of thinking we might see that. But interesting. I don't know what other sports series would really fall into that category. Maybe like Blue Box. I think that's more popular with. I don't know if that's more popular with male readers though. But Blue Box could be added. It's not completely unrealistic. Trying to think what other. Rising Impact. I don't know that was popular with female readers. But that is a sports manga that had a lot of pages made by the author of Seven Deadly Sins. So could make an appearance. It hasn't appeared yet in Jumputi. We still don't have a lot of the old like baseball and stuff, but Shonen Jump just wasn't popular with female readers back in the day, so anything like Play Ball or Astro Kyudan or anything like that, probably not. I don't think Whistle, maybe Whistle, I don't know. That's a football manga. Maybe what was the name of that one? The golf manga by the Kuroko author. I can't remember what it was called. The guy's name was Robot. What was it? It was like Robot Laserbeam or something. Was it really called Robot Laserbeam? It was called Robot Laserbeam. What an awful title. What an awful title for a manga about golf. So maybe Robot Laserbeam. I don't know. There's a lot of sports series that could rear their heads. I'm excited. They haven't put much focus on sport in the past. Even if they're only going to focus on a certain kind of sports series, I'm still kind of okay with it. I'm excited to see what gets covered. And they also have the logbook update. Now, the logbook update they have talked about in some detail. It is an update that is, again, trying to sort of appeal to newer players and players that have come more recently, maybe don't have access to as much content as the veteran players because they weren't around back then. It's essentially just showing a new way to reprint content and make content accessible to players who didn't play that content. Well, to all players, but for the benefit of players who didn't play that content. So they would have a list of like One Piece feature festivals. If you clicked on the One Piece section, it'd be like number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and you'd clear through it and it would show you like, oh, you've maxed that character, you maxed that character, you maxed that character, and then it would show clear in your logbook. And it's sort of a way to organize all this old content, make it more accessible, and just generally speaking, showcase it in a much better way. Because there are some characters that just don't come back, or they come back but like in a completely different way to when they were originally added, and maybe certain things are not reprinted, like costumes or emblems or whatever. And it would just be nice if players could experience those events as they originally added, as they originally intended, at their own leisure, just when it suited them. And that's what the logbook appears to be. So I'm all for this update, but it's not until September, and seeing as everything else in this section, the Captain Plan section, has been delayed, I expect that this will probably be delayed, so look forward to that. And there is mention of a new mechanic similar to Putty Shot and Putty Charge. That will most likely be the mechanic that is added with our new Muso character. And I have no idea what that's going to be. I have no idea. I couldn't even speculate. It's going to be something to do with bubbles, obviously. But what exactly, I don't know. I can't even really think of one right now. But it's certainly interesting. It's certainly interesting. And then going beyond September, beyond the 4.5 anniversary. Well, I mean, we will have the 4.5 anniversary event, end of September, start of October. I don't know who the Muso is going to be honest. It's a little bit tricky. It could just be Fuki from the Taiwan server, but I think even the Hoshinengi fans are kind of expecting him to be downgraded to limited. So who will it be? It's really tricky, you know, because Muso is like, it really feels like this special tier of character. You have to be a particularly important character. And I would argue once we hit 10-10, any point after that, assuming Jujutsu Kaisen is added, Gojo is a candidate for a Muso. But beyond that, I think there are a lot of characters that have potential, but they're all like so debatable. And some people are definitely like, I don't really want to see a version 2 Muso. I don't really want to see, like, it's got to be like a special character, you know. So it could be Lumiere from Black Clover. I think that's one that's been thrown around quite a lot. Definitely on the cards. I don't know who I want. That's the thing. I don't know who would tempt me to pull. But bear in mind, this will officially be the second batch of Muso characters. We finished the first batch. This is the second batch. So I feel like if they were going to start doing anything funky, they would start here. You know, like if they were going to start doing like protagonists as Musos, or more like mentor character version 2s as Musos, like, or villains as Musos, also an option. But say for example One Piece, like you've got Roger now. What if they released Shanks? Could anyone really argue that Shanks is like not Muso tier? They could argue it. They might be right, but I mean, you could also argue he could be a Muso and it would probably do alright for them. A character like Yamamoto from Bleach, like, definitely should have been a Muso and wasn't. And there definitely could be an argument that he could get a version 2 and it could be a Muso. Like, the one we've got isn't the full, like, the final attack he uses, so maybe. Well, it's like one of his final attacks anyway. It's a maybe. And then, like, Naruto, like, who? Can't even think of one now. There must be one, but I can't think of, like, Minato version 3 or whatever. Yeah, I can't really think of one for Naruto, so I think we're safe in that regard, I hope. Unless it ends up being Boruto, and it's like, it's like, oh yeah, it's Boruto, and then it's a Naruto Muso. And then what else? I don't know. Hunter x Hunter. Ging! We don't have Ging from Hunter x Hunter, could be him, but yeah, maybe I'll do another video at some point that's just talking about all the different potential Muso options, because I think there are still quite a few. The one I like the most is probably the Pharaoh Atem from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, have him counter, like, either Bandit King Bakura or, like, a little Yugi, and have, like, a farmable Yugi for the first time. That would be cool. But yeah, very interesting to see what happens there. And then, moving on from the anniversary after that, content is planned for World Trigger. Could be a feature festival, could also not be a feature festival. There's no guarantee. If it appears in this section, there is no guarantee it will be a feature festival, but it could be a feature festival. We're also expecting content from Medica Box, content from another mystery series, and a mystery crossover event. Now, I'd like to point out, where they've got that question mark next to Medica Box, I feel strongly that when they put that question mark there, that to me does not mean quote unquote and more. It means a specific mystery series has an event planned. We're not ready to announce it yet. But I would argue that that could be like the Jujutsu Kaisen or the Stone Ocean Feature Festival. And they're not ready to announce that that event is coming yet. And the reason I say that is because if you just put a question mark, that means nothing. Like, if you put a question mark and you mean that as, and then another series, the one that's already in the game will get a feature festival. Like, bear in mind that a lot of the content that appears in this later section typically It's like 50-50 if it's going to be a feature festival or just appear in a random event. So you can put any series there. Like, how many different series are going to get something? So putting a question mark there, it just kind of feels like, if it's not a mystery series, it's kind of lazy on their part. It's like, oh yeah, and more. It's like, well, yeah, and more. 6 months worth of content is more. I know there's going to be more in the future, but what specifically? Come on now. So I'm hoping that that is alluding to either Stone Ocean Feature Festival or Jujutsu Kaisen Feature Festival. And then the mystery crossover event, I could do a whole video on different crossover events that would be cool. I'm still thinking it will probably be Dragon Ball and Dr. Slump, because I think that's a big one that we still don't have. But there are definitely options on the cards. I think Dragon Ball jumped up in my predictions simply because it has been omitted from the roadmap this year. And the final thing, well, two things, I guess. We have the profile update, which is another thing related to my ship that's probably going to get delayed. And it's just supposed to be another thing where you can like customize your account so people can look at your account and see your stats and your favorite characters and whatever. It's supposed to be a new social element to the game, which I'm not necessarily against, but honestly, everything in the Captain Plan, they're dedicating so much dev time to it. And I feel like the other content is kind of suffering, which is a damn shame. But it is what it is. They seem to think it's necessary, so we'll stick with them. Bear in mind, I don't like to be one of those guys that's like, I know better than the devs, because I don't. But at the same time, when it, say for example, Ore Collection, I don't consider this hubris. I consider this a fact. I knew better than the Ore Collection devs. The people working on that game, while technologically they knew what they were doing in terms of development, whoever was in charge of that team and leading it in the direction it went in was a fucking moron. It is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. So many people love that game, and they just, again, I love the term, and I've used it so many times today, they fumbled the bag. It was one of the biggest falls from grace I have ever seen. And even though that game had like no content, they starved that game of content because they put so much effort into moving into Ore Collection 2. So many people still stuck about. So many people still love that game. They put no effort into making the sales tempting to purchase. They put very little effort into content in general. Every update they seemed to release made the game worse, and they still had a loyal fan base. It is insane to me that Bandai Namco just let them devs destroy that game. And so I stand by the fact that I knew better. I'm sorry, I just did. And I had so many ideas and so many amazing things I wanted to see from that game, and they just massacred it, and it was horrible. I'm not going to say the same with Jumputi, because I think there's a lot of things that I sometimes say in the heat of the moment that are just wrong. But I think there's a lot of things that we need to see from the devs. And for whatever reason, we haven't seen them until now. And it seems like every time they make promises on the roadmap of things that will come, and a lot of the times they either don't come, or they're compromised in some way, or they're delayed beyond belief. And even now, we've already seen some delays to this roadmap. We've barely even finished the anniversary, and we're already seeing delays to this roadmap. And I hope they know what they're doing with this my shit thing, because maybe I'm out of touch with what Japanese gamers want to see in terms of social media, in terms of sharing things, but I know I'm not completely out of touch. I know that not just English players, but a large number of players in the Japanese fan base despise the whole thing where you have to link your game to Line to connect your account, because you can lose your account. And I know this is like, you know, you can see them on stream putting on the clown makeup when one of the hosts even says they lost their account during the Line link up process. Now, they did say there is a requirement that has to be there as a part of their contract with Line. Completely understandable. But you either have to improve that service or add at least something in there, some other way I can prevent my account from just being poofed, deleted. There's got to be some other way, even if it's just improvements on your end to like customer service. So it's like, oh, if this happened, if you got this error or this happened, just immediately just send us an email with these details and we'll sort you out post haste or something. Like there's many different ways they can improve it, and even if the contract does restrict them a lot, they need to work around it. It's something they need to work on. They've said they'll work on, but you look in the roadmap, it's not there. So even with all these things they said they're adding, they haven't added that one yet, and everyone knows it needs to be done. Same with like the improvements to the gacha. That's something they should have done a long time ago. People have been talking about this game needs fake outs, this game needs improved gacha animations for a long time. Still haven't done it. So definitely, again, not saying I know better than the devs, but I'm saying maybe there's some things that the devs know, but they aren't taking it seriously enough. And I would like to see them take those things seriously. And I'm a little bit worried about the my shit thing. It looks like it's taking an incredible amount of development time, and I'm just a little bit concerned. That's all. And the final thing to talk about, the final thing for this roadmap is Christmas. It's not on this roadmap technically, but at Christmas we are getting the release of Cascade from Midori no Makibao, which is kind of huge because more Midori no Makibao content for the first time in a few years. We're getting a very popular character from the series, Cascade, and it's something that's happening in line with a real-world event. So they did mention this in their interview. They said that there is a horse racing event around Christmas. Not around Christmas, sorry, rather I should say on Christmas Day. And in line with that, in line with the release of that, they're going to be releasing Cascade from Midori no Makibao, which is cool. But they don't do stuff like that this often. They don't do stuff like this that often, I should say. And it's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. Like, okay, so for example, there's going to be a World Cup this year. In my opinion, it would make sense to release maybe some Captain Tsubasa content, maybe some Whistle content. Doesn't need to be a lot, maybe just like one unit. It would make sense to add those series or something from those series during the World Cup. But when they had the Olympics, which were in Tokyo, Japan, where the game would be very popular and very known. Everybody knows about the Olympics, right? So all these players who play Jumputi, they're going to know about the Olympics, and they're going to be thinking, there's a load of sports series in Weekly Shonen Jump. Why are none of them featured in Jumputi during the Olympics? That doesn't make any sense. But they didn't do it. And my concern is that they would not do the same for the World Cup either. But then why, for this one random horse racing event, did they decide to add Cascade when they could have added Cascade at pretty much any point beforehand? And people probably wouldn't have questioned it. It's weird. I think it's kind of cool, but I wish they did tie stuff in to real life more often. And like, they've announced this like it's a big deal, but it's like, you know, Dragon Quest got a new anime. You probably could have released some new units to commemorate that. You didn't. There's loads of series that have had big stuff going on you haven't made any announcements for, so it's all a bit strange to me. I think the only series they've consistently done something for is Kimetsu no Yaiba, but I think that's more of a case of Kimetsu no Yaiba's always got something going on in real life, and Jumputi's always got some Kimetsu no Yaiba going on, so it just all kind of plays together. But that's pretty much it. My overall feeling on this roadmap is that there is potential. There is definitely potential. There's a lot of things I'm not that interested in. I mean, coming into it, we knew the My Hero Academia event was going to be here. That didn't interest me that much, and having played through it, it was a bit better than I thought it would be. But, I mean, we're about to enter probably what's going to be like a dead week sort of thing, and it's like, yeah, I'm not really vibing with it that much. And I'm kind of worried that all the other series that I'm not super invested in is going to be the same kind of thing. I'm just praying. There's quite a few ensembles on here. I'm praying that those live up to the hype. I'm hoping Golden Week is a home run. I'm hoping that the something June Brides thing, whatever, is going to be like an actual proper event, and June is going to be like a jam-packed event, a jam-packed month, I should say. July, One Piece is One Piece. There's nothing I can do about that, but I just need the summer event to A, have no One Piece, and B, be like just a nice breath of fresh air event. Just focus on a bunch of series that don't get content. Maybe one big series gets a limited, and then just the rest, just a bunch of things here and there. Maybe like some romance series, some harem series, maybe some like just anything. Just anything that's not One Piece, Black Clover, My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball. Well, Dragon Ball hasn't had much stuff, but like Kimetsu no Yaiba, you know, like new stuff that doesn't get much attention. That's what I'm looking for during that. And as long as 1010 is what it is set up to be, as long as it introduces Jujutsu Kaisen and it's a half decent ensemble event, I am happy. And as long as the autumn like sports event is like a decent attempt at showing some love to those series that haven't had much love, I can say that this is actually not a bad roadmap. But upon its initial release and my initial look over it, I wasn't particularly excited, and there is definitely potential for it to not live up to what I hope it can be. I guess, I don't know. I mean, it's probably pretty obvious if you watch my content that over the course of the anniversary, I kind of just wasn't vibing. I was sick for a lot of it, to be fair, but it's like I just didn't care. I had so many plans for new content during the anniversary, and obviously me getting sick was a big downer on that, because I couldn't even really talk properly because I had a chest thing, so it was like recording would have sucked. But I really had hopes to make some cool new content, and I was even thinking like, once I'm a little bit better, I'll just record what I can, and I'll do what I can, and I'll make some cool content with it. But the Annie just got me down, bro. Like, there just wasn't enough content for the period of time. The Annie wasn't as long as it normally is. It just didn't cover as much. The goodies weren't as good. The campaigns weren't as interesting. It just kind of pissed me off, if I'm honest. And My Hero Academia is better. It's not much better, but it is better. And I'm just, I don't know. I'm trying to give them clean slate. I'm trying to go at things a bit more positively. And I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But look, I know that these games make quite a lot of money. It probably does cost quite a lot of money to get all the character licenses as well, so it's probably not like unholy profit margins like you might see with some gacha games, but I think these devs do alright. I think they do alright. And I'm just hoping that the return that they're willing to give the fans is, let's treat each series proper. You know, I know the lead dev is a big fan of Black Clover, likes to constantly go back to Black Clover. That's okay. But maybe don't put as much of it on ensemble events if it's going to get a full feature festival. Because you're already doing the same thing with One Piece. You're already doing the same thing with My Hero Academia. So maybe the series that are already getting loads of attention, at least during these, like, say for example, the Speaking of Summer event, don't give those series attention during that period. Because the fans of those series are going to get the content that they want. If, say for example, if I'm a fan of One Piece, and, you know, I don't know what you're going to release for One Piece Day and for the One Piece event. If you release like a, I don't know, a summer, who's a character with like a bikini scene or whatever, like a summer Nami or whatever, you know, all Namis are kind of summer Namis when I think about it. But like, I don't know, like a character like Koala. You release a summer Koala during the Speaking of Summer event. What's the point? If I'm a One Piece fan, I'm saving for the One Piece event. There's no point in you releasing that unit. So you don't need to do that. I get that there is an appeal to that, because you're like, oh, One Piece, like everybody loves One Piece and it's got so many fans and it's going to make us so much money, but do that, put that focus during the One Piece event and make that this huge, super stellar, awesome event. And then in the summer event, just let these other series that have only had scraps and morsels have just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. The series that have got like 2-3 characters, give them something. A little bit of something. Like, if I get to that speaking of summer event, and there is anything from My Hero Academia, One Piece, or Black Clover, and I would argue Kimetsu no Yaiba as well, if there's anything from those 4 series in there, you fucked it. You know what? I'd throw Naruto in there as well. Anything from those 5 series in there, you have fucked it. And it kind of goes the same for any of this stuff. Like Golden Week, probably Kimetsu no Yaiba is going to be in there. I think I kind of have to accept that. But no Naruto, no My Hero Academia, no One Piece, no Black Clover. Please. There's no need for it. There's no need for it. Anyway, I'm done ranting. Piss myself off. But if you've made it this far in the video, do me a favour, leave a like on the video and leave a comment and just let me know either what your thoughts are on this roadmap, what characters and series you want to see, and just what you're hoping for the future of this game. And I don't know, I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is. I don't know, but I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.